see what they could find, and they called me and told me what they had going on, and they shut the gas off. So it looks like he was nice enough not to lock it, but sometimes they put a cap inside right there. But maybe they left us something to work with, and we won't have to unhook it. And like I say, it might be capped in there, but let's hope not. Okay, I can see right here all the wet and everything. All this is wet where the gas guy was here with his bubble soap, and all that insulation's wet, everything. So obviously this is the area. He said it had a little kink in it. That's one thing I noticed about this house is 3/8 lines everywhere. That is 2 pound, so it'll tolerate a little smaller line, but when they're copper, we like to see 1/2 inch everywhere, but that's going everywhere. It's going all the way upstairs like that too. All right, couple things wrong here. That was just too tight of a spot to try to point it that way. And then I can't believe this 90 was screwed down. So when I took this off, I mean that right there is just way too tight for a fitting, and that's why it was hitting. I mean, this is just pure laziness and just slapped in there any kind of way it would go. So I got all this apart. I'm gonna try to point it this way. So this copper was coming from back there, so I was able to cut the kink out of it and get a fresh start. And let's see if we can rebuild the station and point it out this way. 2 pound station is what we call that, with the T's and regulator and all. But even at the start of it, this nipple right here is just too short. I mean, that's just crap. So let's see what we can work with here. And another issue when I took this door off is how long this hose is, so it had to be crammed in who knows how. I mean, that's just not gonna work right there. So I need to figure out for sure that these are the right ones going to the right place, and it looks like it is, but this is just a mile too long. And this one going into the induced draft is fine. This is the condensate one here with the purple dot on it, and I mean, it being a mile long like that, it's just asking for trouble. So we'll cut this off and shorten it, and that'll certainly be a lot better. Let's see what we can do with this gas line. Okay, so here's what we're coming up with. I've reflared this, and look like a pretty good flare. Now Ralph is not going to approve of this Malco one-piece flare tool, and this is not what we use on mini splits, Ralph. Not on the Mitsubishis. I think this is an old Malco. You know, I've had this thing probably close to 25 years, well over 20 years. Anyway, so I've redone the flare. We changed this nipple out a little bit longer, we tightened up the 2 pound station here real tight. Got the test tee right here in the place of a 90. Of course, the regulator right there, union. And I'm gonna extend this and put a 6 inch, a longer drip leg dirt leg, whatever people call it, and then we'll face this back this way and get the flare hooked up. I'm gonna tighten all this up, but this looks pretty good. This is what I came up with for the station as far as getting it reworked and out of that tight spot up there. That was just terrible to stuff it up in that hole like that. That's one of them guys just trying to hook it up as quick as possible, any kind of way it'll go, just slam it in there. Like I said, just pure laziness and in too big of a hurry. But we're gonna hook it up like this and fire it back up and monitor for leaks a little bit. All right, I've got everything tightened up here and tightened the drip leg, and all the black iron fittings are done. The station is ready to hook up. One thing I always do before I put a flare back together is, with the flare nut back out of the way, I just made it up to the fitting it's going on, and just get back and look at it, make sure it has, you know, a good flat seat on it. Make sure it has room to, you know, not touch anything and to move around. So I'll do that and then screw the flare nut on. And gas lines, I'll crank this by feel. No, I'm not going to put a torque wrench on this 3/8 flare. But I've done enough of these to know what it feels like when we're mashing it out, flattening it out, and flaring it and seating it, whatever you want to call it. So let's get this thing turned back on and soap everything again. All right, and I did shorten this tube from the condensate switch a good bit, about that much. So not sure if they turned the motor here during install. I think this is the way it comes. So anyway, let's put the door back on it. This right here is tight on this motor. I'm gonna see what it feels like. I think maybe that's better. I think this one goes in the middle, and this one goes on the bottom actually. It probably wouldn't matter on this collector box, but if you look at the installation instructions, I think that's the way it has it. So let's go ahead and move that. I think it'll make the door fit a little better. Okay, I was just looking over the rest of these lines. You can see where all the bubble soap's hanging down. And just look at all of that. Look at all of those fittings. There we go, 1/2 to 3/8 headed to the furnace. So it came in as 1/2 right there to that first T. There it goes 3/8 to another 3/8 all the way around T. And a coupling right there. Union, whatever we want to call it. 1, 2, 3 unions. 2 of them are reducing unions, so I can almost understand why they would have them at all, but not really. But anyway, none of it's leaking, but I'm going to propose to this lady that we tear all of this out and start over and come back in here with CSST and run this out correctly and get all these fittings out of here. Let's put our insulation back up and we'll get out of here. I need to grab a few rods. But we got our station looking better. And it's a little bit of a compact one, but it's right. Since we had the gas off, we had to shut everything down, of course, so we lost the pilot on the water heater. Got a couple of problems here. Number one, it's going to be a little tight to get in there and light it with this Big refrigerator freezer here. Number two, take a look at that. Do you think they altered the direct vent kit that comes with this thing? And I'm not much for blabbing people's names, but they did put their sticker right there in the middle of my video. But just look at that. Anything about that seem funny to you? Tell you what, I seriously almost do not want to light this thing. That is crazy. You know, takes all kinds to make the world go around. This thing lit. Maybe we'll get lucky and the striker will work. So I'm gonna try that first. And see if it's our lucky day. Oh yeah. She's lit. Just to make sure it stays lit. But I'm glad that striker worked and I didn't have to take any of that apart to stick my lighter up in there. So let's see what we got. There she goes. I did clock the meter for about 10 minutes on its little half foot. Doesn't have a quarter foot on it, it's got a half foot dial. And it did well. Take both hands to get that on. It did not move in about 10 minutes.